wrong, Tiff. I'm still holding niggas to the fire. The last group of niggas, the 50 and up, are the worst batch of niggas God ever created. Them niggas are bums. This generation that y'all see right here on this panel has got that right. We have steered the ship. We back in these PTA meetings. That's all I see at the park is black fathers. We getting it right, but now we are on the cusp of our worst crop of black women ever. And it is up to y'all.
It's our fault.
That was our fault as well.
That's our fault. Yeah.
And it's up to us to get this shit back together, but that starts with leadership from men like me.
So I'm going to tell you, I had a very loving father, and God bless my father, rest in peace. Never hit me. Never. And
that's why you talk a lot.
So
I don't really have much on the leadership thing. I think holistically, the more you give people, the harder it is to convince them of a different way of living. I think things came with resources from both sides. I think that we fall in love with the thought of being with somebody. And I think leadership is about how much you can recreate successful habits in somebody else, whether it be your kids, your partner, whatever the case may be. Leadership is about the results you get with the people that follow you. And I just leave that there.
So Mims, what do you think about what the ancestors would say regarding a couple thing? Well, the specific thing about the conduct, right? That maybe 2K alluded to in terms of the conduct of let's say the women, or what do you think they would say about the conduct generally speaking in regards to relationships?
I mean, I think it's apples and oranges. I think honestly, I hate to use this, but like I think the structure seemed better. But what was going on with the lens that we have about trauma and about, generational habits or curses, I think they will be disappointed, but I think we're dealing with things that they wouldn't be able to fathom. You know what I mean? I think they were in survival mode all the time. I think that we have the luxury of choosing, and that within itself makes it hard. Back then, they couldn't really choose like that. You got who you got, you rock with them, you couldn't move around. I think the only disappointment, man, is in what comes from our relationships. It's too easy to have a broken home now. It's too easy to do something to not take care of the responsibility. I think black men have stepped up. You know what I mean? I think we're showing up now. I think it's harder to believe because with social media, with ChatGPT and Google, they're trying to keep a narrative that may not be true.
Okay.
I think that's why you see a lot more men stay now, even if they're not happy, because they're trying to combat that perception that they're not there. Or they're not there in the home with their child.
Well, what that would be mirroring is what they used to do, and seemingly how it's less about them and more about the family construct, right? I think that the opportunity for choice, I don't see us benefiting from it. I think the opportunity is there, but has it benefited us?
I think it has. Okay. I'll put it like this.
Because remember, we talking about family and structure and marriages and all that stuff. Right?
Yeah. So I think you give human choice, you allow a human error too. There's flaws in us being able to choose. Sometimes you mess up, sometimes you don't. I do think it's benefited us because, again, to my point I made earlier, we're further than we ever been. People may not like it. People may think it's supposed to look one way. We're further than we ever been. Marriages are coming out with more to give per se than they did then. But Hamp, I think it's apples and oranges, bro. I think it's apples and oranges. I think the circumstances now you can't really compare from back then.
Okay, so let me just ask a couple clarifying questions. So if we had a 60% marriage rate, now it's 30%. Mm-hmm. What, right? And then the money that we're making, we're the lowest on the totem pole in comparison to our counterparts. Our kids are born out of wedlock upwards of 70%. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to figure if they saw this and we gave them context. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to understand how you come into like this.
So because that's
and then our divorce rate is 70%. Sorry,
but the ancestors would blame the man for lack of leadership.
100%. No. Hold on, I just want to see because he on apples and oranges. I'm trying to see like our divorce rate is crazy as hell. Like all our things in terms of these relationships don't seem to be bolting out well in terms of further than we ever been. It seems like more regressive in terms of relationships.
Because choice. Back then you didn't have a choice but to stay. That's my thing. You give humans choice, they can make it. But the point about if you take the divorce rate, what you said first was the marriage rate went from 60 to 30. Mm-hmm. I would bet my bottom dollar about 15% of that is just people choosing not to get married versus people choosing to get divorced. So that rate can decrease just because people are choosing not to marry. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing all the other. It can. It absolutely. If just because the marriage rate goes down doesn't necessarily mean that it was solely divorce happening. People could choose not to get married and the marriage rate be lower year to year. But to the point of benefiting, back then, the ancestors, once they married people, they have no choice. You give us choice, you're going to pick what you want. Everybody's in this mode of self-care, mental health, buzzword. So we continue to individualize ourselves, and we don't know how to be with anyone. And that's why I think the problem lies.
It's not a choice, it's a trick. We are divorce. It's not a choice, it's a trick. We are incentivizing our women greatly to divorce us. And hey, we'll give you cash compensation. We're gonna give you child support. If you need food stamps, we're gonna give you this. They have literally like the ancestors will be like, hey, young blood, why is that girl falling for the trick of the man? He gonna be like, what the fuck is that? Like, because we can't lead properly because they are being deceived. They are being deceived because there's no longer a method where we can, or into that discipline the woman. Let's be totally honest here, bro. And then on top of that, we have to. Damn, I just forgot what I was going to say. Okay, I digress.
So, okay. Oh, damn, I forgot what I was going to say. It was some. August. Let me ask you this, and then we get to Alan. You can say what you wanted to say. I just want to ask you this, just on something that was offered, right? So they have in Kentucky. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. In Kentucky, it is automatic 50-50 custody.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for the past 4 years, I think it's been about 4 years, the divorce rate dropped by 25% in Kentucky because that incentive, right, how it's perceived, was taken away. That's just when I'm listening to y'all converse.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Yeah. But you can say what you want. I just want to see what you thought about that, and then
I think that's we expect human nature to move based off of what they're incentivized by. So if you have an incentive to wreck your family and you can have the freedom of choice to not want to be there, and there's more incentive for you to not be there, and you're gonna land right on your feet, then you're gonna make that choice. I think 2K, even though he being hyperbolic about the smacking or whatever the case may be, I think he's 100% correct. I think if we look at the fact of how our community is operating in this day, is because the nuclear family doesn't exist, and you have women who are trying to determine what leadership is. You have followers that's trying to tell men what it means to be a leader, and so that is a problem because that's not them submitting to the idea of your leadership. That's them trying to qualify you as a leader, as if they're the ones that are to qualify you. And so when you have the structure of the family the way it used to be, you'll see us have made way more progress working together versus us having this interior fight, gender war that we're having that's systematically destroying us. And all we're doing is kind of pointing outward instead of looking inward to say, you know what, there's an issue here.
And the stock of the black woman is down right now. Like literally, I can go outside and I can see it. You can close your eyes all you want to, but if I can go outside or get on the internet and see her half naked, then guess what? I don't have nothing to respect about it. I see it all right here. I can go home and do the rest with some lotion. Like, give a nigga something to want. And don't get me wrong, Tiff. I'm still holding niggas to the fire. The last group of niggas, the 50 and up, are the worst batch of niggas God ever created. Them niggas are bums. This generation that y'all see right here on this panel has got that right. We have steered the ship. We back in these PTA meetings. That's all I see at the park is black fathers. We getting it right. But now we are on the cusp of our worst crop of black women ever. And it is up to y'all.
It's our fault.
That was our fault as well.
That's our fault. Yeah.
And it's up to us to get this shit back together. But they start with leadership from men like me.
So I'm going to tell you, I had a very loving father, and God bless my father, rest in peace. Never hit me. Never. And
that's why you talk a lot.
So, one, don't disrespect my father, because I'm not disrespecting you at all.
I didn't disrespect your father.
You literally, the slight was.
I said that we see why you talk a lot. You would never hit.
You were being
It's not disrespect.
So, again, the fact that you want to lord over a woman instead of having a benevolent leadership, it says a lot. If you have to hit a woman to make her behave you, it shows a lack of your leadership skills. And if that's what you need to resort to, then that's a thing. But what I'm saying is, can I say that black women as a whole, as a conglomerate, Are there corrective behaviors that need to happen? Absolutely. Can I say that there are things that we need to address? Absolutely. Am I going to condone physical violence? That's where you lose me. So there are things that we can address and atone and correct without you ever needing to raise a hand at me. The second thing is even in the discourse that we're having back and forth, just like you have a wife, I have a husband. My husband has never raised a voice and never has called me out. So the fact of me even thinking about him physically hitting me is something that's so abstract and so foreign that I'm trying to process what you're saying. But again, to me, if you got to hit the weaker vessel, it just shows your weakness to me as a man. But that's me as a woman processing like that ain't it. But when you're talking about as far as us and Black families and fixing things, I'm there with you 100%. But strategically, how we get there, when we got to start treating adults like children, it's a problem. I don't even think hitting kids, to me, is like that's a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario. Because we don't hit other people, grown adults. You're not going to hit him because him said some shit that you don't like. So what you're saying is, all these other men on the panel, if they don't act accordingly, you're not going to box them out. You're going to figure something out. So if you can see them man to man, then me as your partner, as your rib, as your better half, as the person that's doing life with you, you shouldn't want to beat me. We should figure out a way to reconcile. And if you have to correct me, that's something completely different. But physical abuse will never be the answer.
Don't call it physical abuse. Call it corrective punishment. Then, if that make you feel better,
it's physical.
It's gonna happen. That's just what it is.
Well, I'm glad that you're like willing to take a hit. I'm not taking a
okay. Well, listen, you will be correctively punished. I can guarantee you this.
Hey, Tuka, I gotta ask a question. You correctively punish your wife so she could, act right?
If lines are crossed, yes.
I mean, have you had to do that in the past?
Not too often.
But you have.
If I have to, yes.
No. You said not too often, which means you did it before.
If I have to, yes. So if she has overstepped, yes.
You've done it before.
Absolutely. You think I'm just on here preaching?
So this part, it's on here preaching.
Hold on, cause y'all got it's on proof to this juice. You don't get Michael Jackson. You don't get Tina Turner if it ain't for them love taps to get it together.
See, that's the only thing I disagree with, and the reason why I say that.
But hold on. Let me just real quick, right? And I want to hear your disagreement. Tiff, the one thing though, that's what it's actually different with men. If a man does say the wrong thing, there will be a fist fight. So that part is one of the potential outcomes from men disagreeing vehemently. Mm-hmm. Like we've even seen it, right? We had boxing matches that we literally set up because men disagreed verbally, and then they punched each other several times, and a couple people fell out. I want to get Alan in, and then August, I want you to voice what you're going to say. I just want to make sure I get Alan in. He's been chilling. Go ahead, Alan.
Man, I don't know how to follow that up.
They're real.
I mean, first of all, stating the obvious, I don't think physical punishment is the right way to go about things. But I would encourage us to kind of take a step back and see past the hyperbole and really understand his point. Unfortunately, kind of like I talked about earlier, the things that are necessary for progress, for maintenance, are not always pretty. And one of my favorite sayings is history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And when you look at communities like the Hasidic Jewish community, they have strict rules about female conduct and male conduct. As a matter of fact, during celebrations, men and women can't be in the same room. When you look at the Nation of Islam, they have strict rules. When you look at every empire that was able to sustain itself, it had strict rules. When you now look at empires that have crumbled, like Japan is they're probably going to go extinct in the next coming decades. And it coincided with women entering the workforce. So if we're able to, and this is what, I ask of us as Black folks, if we're able to put emotion aside and really see the ones and zeros of the algorithm necessary for progress, we have to, on some level, establish a curriculum for male conduct that has checks and balances and expectations, and female conduct that has checks and balances and expectations. I think what's happening, unfortunately, and Slim brought this up with her sons, and even me with my little brother, more than just like our women are out of line, I think this coming generation of boys are simply uninspired by our women's posture. And that's concerning, right? Like when you think about the types of women and the types of men that are necessary to build and establish civilization, there's a disposition that's necessary. There's a disposition of a mother who raises a warrior. There's a disposition of a mother who raises a simp. There's a disposition of a mother who raises a loser, right? And if we're going to deify women as the goddesses that they are, that comes with a great deal of responsibility. And some of what is necessary, some of what we need from you, and I think 2K kind of said it less than eloquent, but there is a deference that's necessary to speak to the king in men, to empower men to go out into the world as a warrior. What's happening currently is a lot of our men and boys are getting beat up before they even enter the world. They're not being empowered. They're not being like I could even observe how white mothers treat their young sons like they're almost their second husband. Like they defer to their sons. And black mothers, even if your son is 40 years old, there's still that he's just a boy. And like we can talk about the context of like not wanting your sons to be taken away on the plantation, so you downplay his greatness. But like if we're unwilling to undo that, we'll continue to manufacture dysfunction, right? So I would just say to the women, consider how your power, how your influence, and sometimes paradoxically, it appears like weakness, it appears like deference, but like how necessary it is for our community's progress. And also men, my biggest critique of men is like we also incentivize the type of women who are not capable of rearing the sons that we will need to carry on our progress, right? So there's a chicken or the egg thing, but like we have to both do our parts. Women need to step up and say, you know, I'm going to conduct myself and I'm going to project even to men the greatness that I see in them, as opposed to speaking to the lowest common denominator like we commonly do. And then for men, I think we have to start making decisions of what we will and we will not tolerate. Unfortunately, a lot of boys these days are leaving the community to do that.
So,
But we have to be more serious about this.
so Ham, this is my last question. I want to ask Alan. Alan, in 2025, without raising your voice, how can you get that woman? How can you get a disciplined woman, a woman that mess up and you have to correct her? How can you make that happen in year 2025? And please don't say leave, because that's a win for her as well. Because don't forget, she's incentivized for that leaving. Mm-hmm. You're a smart guy. Let me get that answer.
I think one of the things I said back in the day, I said boys react, men respond. Okay. Right. So I think, you know, my mom would say like prevention is better than cure. I think men, we need to lean heavily into the vetting process.
Hell, you talking about?
Let me just land.
I got you.
I think often we lead with lust, and I think often we create like we make exceptions for women. Like a lot of times when we look back at like the shitty women we mess with, we saw the signs up front, but we thought we could change her. We thought we were, you know what I'm saying, we were that dude. And I think if we take that process more seriously, we won't have to correct in a severe way. We can direct, but I don't think we'll have to correct.
In every species, the woman challenged the man. Okay, sure. That would have to be a point. You can't look at a lion and say, "Hey, man, you should have been more proactive or proactive in the vetting." We're not talking about the vetting because we know women are great interviewers. They will tell you whatever to get the job. We all do a little bit lying at the front. When you are in the situation, you tell your wife you hungry and you want food, and she say, "No, I ain't doing shit, nigga." What is your next course of action, sir?
Number one, I've never been in that situation. But this is what I would say.
Alan, you got a degree? I need an answer.
This is what I would say. I would say in that type of situation, the best thing you can do is control yourself. And then you can make decisions moving forward as to how to mitigate the situation, whether it means leaving her, whether it means realigning your life in a way that doesn't need her, and then she has to prove her worth back to you. But I think, I think, especially in 2025, like domestic violence, bro, you're going to jail. I think
Hey,
it sounds good, but it's not gonna work, brother.
Martin Luther King and Malcolm X went to jail for what they believed in to make the community better. I'm gonna have to do it too, because you ain't just gave me an answer. You just gave me a bunch of jargon and some word salad, my guy. Like I said, bro, if we gonna get this shit back right, there's going to have to be accountability and discipline for everybody, just not for women, for men, for kids, for everyone. If we gonna get this shit back right, we can't keep acting like we can just talk to women and it's gonna be okay, because has that worked? No.
We agree.
We wouldn't be here.
We agree that there should be accountability and discipline. We disagree of how that looks.
Well, we're gonna make them do push-ups.
I think we all agree on this panel that there's changes being made on both sides. We all agree on that. No one on this panel, women included, has disagreed that women as a collective need to behave. There's behaviors need to be improved. No one said, like, no one's disagreeing with that.
I'm asking for the answer to it. Can you give me the solution?
But I'm just. But what's the answer to like the mental health crisis, right? Like when people are struggling and they just say random stuff. Like, what's the answer to that?
I hate mental health. We are the last group of niggas that.
We know. That's why I'm asking about the crisis.
We are the last group of niggas that ever needed mental health. If King, Malcolm X went through all that bullshit, don't tell us about no fucking mental health. We are okay. I guarantee.
Okay.
Go ahead,
to answer your question, just like what Alan was saying a little earlier, was it's all in the vetting process. So when you dating her and y'all just getting started and you tell her to make a sandwich and she like, nigga, no, that's the time to categorize her as you're not getting married. Trust me, because you don't make sandwiches. And I'm going to get me one that makes sandwiches before.
What if she do make the sandwich at first?
Oh, well, you got to think about it, right? You're going to have to battle test her before you give her the ring. So there's no way. And this is my perception. I don't think that a woman is going to change her stripes that drastically, where you got to, like, bat the fuck out of her so she could, get back right. I don't think it's that really, it's going to be that serious. I think that you could vet her, because we live in we got to adapt to the climate we in right now. Everybody got the freedom of choice. It's 100% a choice, and you could determine that. And this is why I think that men make the mistake. And I'm not trying to just shit on the men, but this is why I think men make the mistake. They see the red flags, and they settle for a bunch of bullshit that they shouldn't settle for. Early on in the vetting process. If she not battle tested and she not willing to get on your program, because this is why I disagree with you. I'm in a marriage for a long time and I've never had to hit my wife. You know what I'm saying? And she totally submits. But the thing about it is that we established that from day one, how you start, how you finish. So it's like, listen, we doing this thing my way, not our way. You know what I'm saying? And you got to get on board with that, or you could go and do your own thing, and I'm gonna do my thing. You know,
and that's not a win for you.
I'm gonna tell you how it's a win. I'm gonna tell you how it's a win, because I'm not married at that point. You know what I'm saying? This is the dating process, so I haven't invested my time and energy in it. I haven't put all my life force into her. I'm not putting my money and resources in it. I'm letting her know right off the front, off the date. You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to submit? Yes or no? Yeah. Yes. All right, great. Let's move forward.
Hey, Hamp. Let me make this last point, and I got a dip, bro. And it's something I've talked about a lot on my channel. A lot of us as men are unsophisticated about how we approach the world and how we approach women. I think a lot of the things we say sound good in theory. They look good in movies, but they don't work, right? I made a series called the Yellow Flag series, because a lot of times we talk about red flags, but often there are things that are yellow flags that we overlook. And my theory has been that men, and this isn't just men's fault, but men have been socialized to be sadomasochistic. A lot of men have been socialized to glamorize and seek out the most difficult women that we can find. And we attach our ego to our ability to tame her, right? And then on the back end, we have a lot of these complaints about, what if this, what if that? The reality is, to August's point, like, people in general are not that dynamic. People are pretty predictable. And I think the better conversation that we should be having, especially for the next generation, is helping them be more sophisticated on how to read people, how to look past their representative, how to consider the things, not just the things they say, but the things you see, right? So you don't have to resort to your lowest common action as a human animal, right? So that's all I'm saying. And like I said earlier, I appreciate y'all. I got a dip. I got to work in the morning.
Already, man. Appreciate you, man. I love you, man.
And Hamilton, did he drop his channel?
Yeah, they're gonna drop the channel. I'll send it to you.
We need to talk.
Tiff, you got to follow me too, Tiff. Yo. Hey, everything he said was intangible though. Like he asking us to do the fucking most. He asking us to read her mind, predict the future, know who she is probably before she know who she is, and that's the impossible.
You got
2K,
battle test.
let me answer your question, right?
Okay.
Married, anecdotally speaking, right? I have several prescriptions that are tough for most people, right? So my wife, no more Christmas, no more so-called Thanksgiving, no more Easter, no more, right? And initially, because the infatuation period, right? You know, that honeymoon shit, yeah, I could do all that shit. No problem, right? Year 5 though. So you sure we can't paint no Easter eggs? Oh, well, I'm going here to do Christmas. I'm going there. I'm gonna go to my. You gonna leave me here, right? Like you know, and so right there's several agreements, and those agreements get tested. People get complacent. People build disdain, right? Contentment, the whole 9 yards. You got rough patches. I ain't doing none of that shit now. Fuck that Bible, right? And because this is how life actually be maturing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Right? Just if I'm just being 100% honest, right?
That's a fact.
Because the physicalities that's off the table, right?
Right
You
now.
just in terms of how our country is organized, right? There's nothing you can do about it, right? Just to be 100% honest, there's nothing you can do about it.
I can give you some methods, but we'll do that on screen.
But just if I'm answering your question, right? If this person doesn't want to do it anymore, and then here's the thing about my house, I'm 100% breadwinner.
Facts, same.
So literally, then boom, and my wife does good work for like our company, but you know, right? What happened? So I'm literally in the point where I'm gonna pay this, right? So there's nothing you can do about it, right? So this person has to agree every day to be under your covering and leadership, right? If I just were to answer your question straight out, and at the point where they don't want to do it, they not gonna do it.
They're not gonna do it.
Right. And it's just as simple as that. If I was answering your question flat out, like the leaving thing, yeah, but then I'm subject to several different aspects. Right?
But see, that's what I'm saying. Is it's hard to be the leadership to get the black to get the black community back where they need to be when we got no resources to lead the woman besides persuasive actions, and after a while that fades like every other feeling or emotion.